It is, what is it? It's Wednesday, the 29th, 2023. Just a little bit past 1, almost 1:10 actually. And it's been a full day so far. I had to take my brother in for a colonoscopy, which is a big endeavor. Um, I mean, it takes like 4 days worth of prep. You got to change your diet. You got to consume a certain liquid, a certain amount of water with stuff mixed in it. Um, it's a mess. Fortunately, everything checked out okay, but he had to be at the doctor's at 7:30 in the morning, and on a good day, it's about a half-hour drive. Driving into the city, into Baltimore, which is always a mess. Anyone who has been in this area and has ever been on the 95 and 695 corridor knows exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm sure it's the same in every city area. Um, the thing is that it's just, congested driving. I dislike driving to begin with, um, but we got it done. Happy to help, happy to be there. So it basically all I had to do, drive and set my schedule, you know, an hour earlier. I was up, instead of 3 o'clock, I was up at about 2:30 in the morning. Um, and instead of taking my time between the stuff that I love to do and want to do, um, I went right into it. That was it. You do you do the things that need to be done for the people that you care about. That's the role of being a caregiver. And I was a caregiver with my father for my mom, as she suffered a long decline due to Alzheimer's, about a 10-year period. And no, maybe not that long. It seems like forever. Um, Maybe closer to 7 or 8. Alzheimer's is an unforgiving disease. It takes away so much. And for me, the role of caregiver was not just physical, preserving the dignity, most especially, that a parent deserves. When those roles are sort of reversed, don't lose track. Don't lose track of the care that was given to you. I had a mixed relationship with my mother growing up. I can't say we were particularly close, um, or at least I never felt super close. She had a better relationship with my brother and my sister. Um, I was a bit of a handful and also forgotten at the same time, if that makes sense. Maybe acting out was a way to get attention. Could be. I've never addressed it in therapy. I think more so that I acted out because I'm just a natural troublemaker. Um, and I enjoyed the little bit of trouble that I got in. Uh, Hold on, guys. I'm getting. Let's see. One second, guys. Sorry. It is Mocha. Her car is at. That's another thing. Her car is at the station, getting worked on, and she'll need a ride in a little bit. So lots of driving for someone who doesn't like driving in the least. I know some people love it, um, not me. I don't have that affinity for machines that some people have, and never did. Driving was never like the top priority for me growing up. When everyone else had, car magazines, were talking about their dream cars and everything, um, I was actually reading bodybuilding magazines, as well as lots of books, lots of strange books. Carlos Castaneda at an early age, books on mysticism, yoga, meditation. Um, religious texts that I still have now that I bought when I was like 11. And I have no idea why I bought them. But yeah, so, I was already on track for a weird life even back then. Anyway, back to my mom. I didn't have that relationship with her. Um, I mean, it wasn't horrible. We just, there was some friction and um, different ways of seeing the world. I know she loved me. I know she cared about me. We just didn't understand each other. However, when it came time to be that caregiver, um, what became important, what became the number one priority, was preserving dignity, listening, which isn't easy in Alzheimer's when everyone else is saying, I just told you, don't you remember, don't you understand? To drop all of that. The role of a caregiver with somebody suffering from Alzheimer's, drop all that. Drop the I just told you, because there is no just, and there is only now, now, now. In a way, um, Alzheimer's puts someone in that continuous state of being right here now. However, there's no context. It's only now, meaning that you might have to say things multiple times, literally 100 times. And it doesn't matter. Say you say things 100 times. It's not easy, but it's a worthwhile endeavor, and it's builds a patience in you that stays with you forever. And meditation was a lifesaver for me, and it also helped my father as well as my other siblings who helped, because if you can be that basin of patience, at least to a large extent, not always, of course, others can draw upon it as well. Not just as an example, but as a living source, as a living force of goodwill and forgiveness and patience and love. And you just keep putting it out there and putting it out there and putting it out there. And it is worthwhile. It was worthwhile for my father to have that in his life. When he was, and he set such a wonderful example of how to care for someone. Never wavered in his commitment to my mom, even when it was heartbreaking for him, because he waited for her. He retired early, and he waited for her to retire, and he expected to have a good life of retirement with my mom, who he loved very much, and instead it was robbed from him due to Alzheimer's within the first 1 or 2 years after my mom retired. When my dad, after my mom died, I stayed with my dad after my separation from my wife. And he wanted a caregiver. He didn't need one to the extent that he would later. So it was, an easy time of being with my dad, reaffirming our relationship, which was always good and just got better. His last few years, things got harder, and he needed a little more care, especially end of life care. I did not think I could do it, honestly. It was not a role that even caring for my mom, nothing had prepared me for making those decisions. And I thought it was beyond me. But again, as I mentioned when we started talking, when it comes time to do it, you simply do it, because there's no choice. You can have those doubts, you can have those fears, and you just do it. I don't know how. I can't give anyone instructions on this is how you prepare to do these most difficult things. And you know what? If you're watching this and you're of my age, and I'm going to give a generation in either direction, being 58, so we're going to go from mid-40s to the early 60s. You're going to be faced with those decisions that you might have to make with your parents. And it's horrible, because they're your parents. You're not supposed to be making these decisions, except you are. You are supposed to be making these decisions, if that makes sense. Um, I can't give any advice on how to do it, other than when the time is right, you'll step into that role. If I don't have any clue who I might be talking to right now. If anyone, stumbles across this. But here's what I can say. I guarantee you can do it. I guarantee that you can step into that role because you and I share something together, and it is a core of love and faith. It's a core of loving kindness. It's the core of our humanity, of who and what we are. And when it comes time to step into that role, you'll do so with some fear, some trepidation, but you'll do it seamlessly, and you'll get the job done, whatever job that might be. When I was, when the doctors said I had to choose type of end-of-life care for my father, was floored, because end of life, I'm not ready for his end of life. I want him to come home from the hospital and, we'll make him better. Tell me what to do to make my father better. We'll change his diet. We'll exercise more. We'll walk more. We'll take supplements. We'll take more medicine. We'll do whatever. But don't tell me I have to make a decision on an end of life. That I'm incapable of doing. And yet, in an instant, a minute after she asked me that, and we talked, and I found myself asking the right questions, the choice was made. That's several, in the Tao Te Ching and the Bhagavad Gita and other yogic and Vedic texts, they talk about the non-doer. Things get done, but there's no actual entity doing them. That's what happened. There was a big realization of that happening, of knowing its occurrence, having experiences with it before, in ultra running and meditation and other things. I remember in my teen years, benching 250 for the first time, and it going up and having no recollection of, I remember bringing it down, and how it got back at arm's length, I don't have a clue. It was there. And, other little mystical instances that we don't realize are mystical until we reflect upon them later. Non-doer. When I had to make the decision for my dad's end-of-life care, it wasn't me doing it. I was incapable of doing it. It was being done. We could say it was being done by spirit. We could say it was being done by the Tao, by the universe, by the selfless self. All of those are just descriptions, and they mean absolutely nothing. No description means anything, because it's just that. It's the description. It's the experience itself. The isness, as Richard Bach, the author of Illusions, and Jonathan Livingston Seagull wrote, the isness, which is a wonderful expression of God. That's what counts, not the description. In NLP, they talk of the meal is not, or the menu is not the meal, the map is not the territory. The description is not the isness. Any description of God is not God. That's why, in Hebrew it's written G dash empty space D. Not because the word itself is anything special, but only because it doesn't aptly do justice to the experience, to the isness of God. So, stepping into that role of caregiver, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do after. Funny, I never wanted to be that type of caregiver, and then I find myself doing it twice, and then when it was done, I felt like I had no identity other than being caregiver. My small business that I had, training people, was gone due to COVID and then having to care for my dad. I had no desire to start over. It just seemed overwhelming to start over. Um, I have a house that's paid for. I had a little bit of savings from my father's estate, which is dwindling now, so I'm going to need to do something. Um, but I really felt lost of that role, having never identified with it, and then having it taken away. And I realized, you know what? Your role of a caregiver is never done. The person that you gave that care to, that particular person, that role might be over, but your role of a caregiver is ongoing always, because there's always someone in need of care. Your neighbor, as Duncan Walsh did, taking in an extra kitten, an extra cat. Me taking in 2 cats. Caring for my ex-wife, caring for my brother, caring for an elderly neighbor who might need his sidewalk shoveled if it snows heavy. Little things. And there's always little things. There's always a role to be a caregiver. There's always a role to give care. So it's not over. So I think of my talks here. Continuation of being a caregiver. I'm here talking for whoever ever stumbles upon my words, if anyone ever does. Doesn't matter either way, because they're here. And you put it out there, and you know what? I'm dropping all pretenses. Just here, because I want to put that out there. A-U-R. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce that. R? If I mispronounce it, I'm sorry. I apologize. He says, yes, the little things, and the grace comes out of it. That is beautifully said, my friend. The grace comes out of the little things. I'm going to remember that and your name as well. And if I ever write about it, I'm going to give credit to the YouTube deliverer who gave me that wonderful message. You know what? The world is filled with little things, because all great things come from that. All great things come from those little tiny actions in the entire universe. You know what? Because you have that great nothingness, and then a particle, and then an atom, and then molecules, and then cells, and then matter. But it all comes from that base of nothingness. So who's to say what's a worthwhile endeavor and what isn't? Nothingness could just as easily remain nothing. None of this has to be. Not a single thing in existence has to be, and yet it is. And as our friend just said, grace comes out of it, comes out of all of it. So, you know, the reason I decided to become a meditation teacher was because of the grace and the strength that meditation gave me as a caregiver. And I thought, you know, it's an opportunity to give back. It's an opportunity to teach people, specifically other caregivers, perhaps convince more people that they are actually caregivers in the most meaningful sense of how we live our lives. Some people say, you know, we have that choice of how we live our lives. We can be a good person, or we can not be a good person, or we could be an indifferent person. I don't believe it's an actual choice. I think we often live our lives in indifference until we're faced with that monumental decision of having to care for someone in a heart-wrenching way. And then we realize that we were never really indifferent. We were just waiting for this moment. And who knows what that moment's going to be. Maybe it's going to be something small. And I remember having to make the decision for both of my dogs in a space of a year. And it was, anyone who's ever listened to me talk before knows the deep love that I have for my father. But making that decision for my dogs was every bit as heartbreaking. as making it for my father, making it with my father for my mother. It's never easy. It's never easy taking on that role, but life prepares us for it. And we could think, maybe it doesn't. I've always had an easy life, or I've never had to do this before. But life makes you ready for it because you're alive. You're a participant in life. And when that opportunity comes, that's what happened. Fefe, urban homestead, and lifestyle. I'm going to check out your channel after this. I love the way that sounds. I might have mispronounced your first name, but I love the urban homestead and lifestyle. That just sounds pretty cool, pretty awesome. So look for a new subscriber in just a little bit. The comment is new to your channel, but I've been listening, and I popped in at the right time. I believe that we are here to serve. I got back home from picking up my neighbor's kids from school. As our friend just above, AUR, said, grace comes from the little things. Picking up your neighbor's kids. You know, it might seem like a little thing, but to your neighbor, it might seem like a lifesaver. It might seem like the biggest thing in the world. To the kids know, hey, we got a neighbor that we can count on. We got a neighbor that is there if needed. That's no small thing. That sense of security of the people around you, especially when you're a kid and you're so small and life seems so overwhelming sometimes. How am I going to get home from school? My neighbor. One of the kids had a seizure and she had to go to the emergency room, so I was happy to be in the position to step in and serve in that moment. Man, that's wonderful. And you know what you just said, that you were happy to be there, that says it all. It wasn't begrudging. It wasn't, okay, but let's not make a habit of this. It sounds like, and I don't believe I'm overstepping when I say grateful. When we can be in that role, we expect others to be grateful, but it comes as sort of a surprise when we find that we're grateful to be there. I'm always grateful to be of service, because that means that I'm fulfilling my role, I'm fulfilling my potential. In Zen, yoga, even in Christian mysticism, they talk of emptiness. But instead of emptiness, I love the term capacity. Emptiness just is, but capacity is emptiness for a purpose. A cup is capacity, and it means it can hold whatever you pour into it. We are capacity, which means we can hold whatever is poured into us, whatever it is. And for you, it was an opportunity. Your capacity was to serve your neighbor and your neighbor's child. Fifi, thanks, I appreciate that. Man, I got some wonderful people popping in today. I appreciate that. We have R, and I really hope I'm saying that right too. Thank you, Fifi, for helping them. I hope the kid gets better. I hope as well. Fifi says that when someone has found their purpose, it's fulfilling. I understand that I'm here to serve. That's a deep understanding, and it takes some people a lifetime, maybe more, for them to realize that. You are ahead of the game, and that's actually heartening to hear that someone has reached that realization. Burpees Bandit is here, my friend, just turning in, 5:30 a.m. here, and bad reception for some reason. We'll check out your Supercharge session soon. Hey, I gave you a big thanks for that, because as I was mentioning, I had to take my brother into the doctors for a colonoscopy, my older brother. Um, and it meant cutting down on some of the time that I had in my normal routine. And the supercharged burpee routine was exactly what was needed. For those who are also watching, if you are looking for an 11-minute fitness program, our friend Burpees Bandit has a supercharged burpee routine that is perfect for just a little bit of time. And it is, he does it every day. I do it a few days a week along with my other stuff. But it doesn't have to be. You could do it 3 days a week, and I think you would get a whole lot out of it. R says, I don't know how to describe the pronunciation, so it's okay to pronounce it whichever way is easiest for you. Thank you. I appreciate that. R sounds, has a good feeling to it. It's a powerful name. So, guys, we're coming up on just about half an hour, and I try to keep it right about that each day. Sometimes successfully, sometimes not. Yesterday actually went over an hour. Had some YouTube friends pop in and a great conversation. And I certainly feel blessed that I have some 2 new friends pop in that I'm going to check that out and check out both your channels. And I appreciate you being here today. Burpees Bandit says, have you done the books and burpees yet? I have done it, actually. I did it right after Simone asked me to do so. Because I promised him I would, and I wanted to do it right away. And it just so happened that that day before, I had 2 books that I ordered come to my doorstep. So I wanted to, not a book review, but of why I wanted to read these books. And it was interesting choices. One was Merton's Palace of Nowhere, which is a summary of James Finley's time with the Christian mystic Thomas Merton in his monastery. And the other is a book on societal collapse due to environmental damage, and how the only way through it, it's too late to really mitigate, it's too late to change it back, but the only way through it is through cooperation with each other, that we build a new way of interacting with each other and a new way of interacting with nature. And that, to me, it's going to be important, our cooperation with each other. And I love the co-op, operating, that whole phrase. Same with coincide, because it means this coming together. And in a deeper sense, it's a realization that we've never actually been apart from each other. It seems that way. But once we realize that there's no true separation between us, everything becomes easier, because that means you're just a different expression of the same isness as I am. Different expression. You're not other than me. You're not some foreign entity that I can't understand. You are just a different expression of the same ground of being, a different expression of love, which, how can you complain about that? So, all right, guys, with that, I have to take my ex-wife, I have to take Mocha to service station, pick up her car. And then I'm done for the day. Thanks for joining us. Very much appreciate it. You have a good day as well. And again, I'm going to check out both your channels. I appreciate you both coming here. Take care and have a good day. Burpees Bandit, take care. Oh, quote from 1987, the best books are those that tell you what you know already. I agree. It's almost like a remembering, and yet you never heard it before, but somehow you still remember. Fifi says, be blessed, everyone. Thanks for those positive reminders. And thank you. Man, you really made my day with your comments and your actions. So thank you. Very much appreciated. You guys take care.